Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Immigration Hour, a weekly show by an immigration attorney discussing important issues. I am Attorney Stella. In our last episode, which was episode 5, we talked about marriage-based green card, what is required, which are the forms that are required to file a marriage-based petition, and what is the evidence that is also required. Today's episode talks about the do's and don'ts when it comes to a marriage-based immigration interview. So you have filed the petitions necessary for you to be able to have your petition approved and to be able to have a green card. The assumption is that the immigration has already sent you your work authorization. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Now you receive a Form I-797C notice of action asking you and your United States citizen spouse, or you, the petitioner, and the beneficiary, requesting that you should come in for an interview. That letter states the place, day, and the time of your interview. That letter also has a list of requirements. It tells you what you and your spouse need to bring at the interview, which is called bona fides. The bona fides are what you need to show the government that this is a good faith marriage. Sometimes USCIS will take upon itself, they will send you a courtesy notice, and that notice is reminding you of what you need to bring for your interview. That just before the interview, after you have received the interview notice, that notice reminds you of the Form I-693, and that form is the medical evaluation form. They're reminding you to make sure that that form is in their file, or if you did not send it at inception, that you should make sure that you go to a civil surgeon, USCIS civil surgeon, and have your medical examination for TB and communicable diseases conducted and sent to them. It also reminds you that you should bring along with you your bona fides. What do you have to show that this is a good faith marriage? The form reminds you to bring in your, make sure that you bring in evidence to show that you have assets together and that you have liabilities with your significant other or with your spouse. The list of bona fides that can be proven or taken to the government to show that your marriage is a good faith marriage are different for every family. The list includes, but it's not limited to, the following. Do you guys have a lease together, a joint lease together as husband and wife? If you don't have a lease, do you have a mortgage statement? If you don't have a mortgage statement, do you have joint bank accounts? Do you have insurance policies? Insurance policies can include, but again not limited to, motor vehicle insurance. You have life insurance. You have health insurance. You can also have photos. Even photos will show that you guys do things together as husbands and wives. What about affidavits? People who know you and your spouse can attest to the fact that we know these people, they live with us, or we've seen them do things together. Those statements, they also help. That's sworn statements from friends and family. So all of this, as I always say, no two families are the same. Some families will provide more, others will provide less. But at the end of the day, it is important that you provide evidence to substantiate the good faith nature of your marriage. Even though spouses might have received the notice of action, the 797C, and the courtesy letter reminding them to bring in their bona fides at the interview, it's amazing that sometimes they still ask, what should I bring along with me? Do I need to bring everything, or do I need to bring all of this? I can understand clients get overwhelmed, or people get overwhelmed when they see a long list of requirements. But I must say that no two families are the same. And you are not expected to bring all of those enumerated items because, again, it's just a recommendation. Whatever you have, make sure that you bring it to the interview, because people keep wondering, what should I bring? What shouldn't I bring? That is your day, that is your hour, that is your time. You want to make sure that you make the best out of it. So you bring all the evidence with you. And if the officer asks for it, you provide. If they don't ask, you take it along, you take it back home. It's better to do that than for you to come in to the interview, even though you had a piece of evidence at home, you didn't bring it with you, and then the officer says, oh, I could have approved your petition, but I wouldn't do that. I'm asking for more evidence. Now you have a situation where the officer requests for more evidence, so that deters or that prevents the immediate approval of your petition. Another thing that you have to be careful about is the time. In that letter, as I stated, the letter tells you what time you have to come. It tells you the location and the time of your interview. Make sure that you come in at least 30 minutes early. That helps you in order to come in, get yourself situated. You and your spouse get yourself situated and relax before you have the opportunity to see the officer. You don't know what the nature of the traffic on the road will be. You don't know whether there will be too much traffic on the way. You don't know whether you have an emergency on the way. So it is very important for you to leave early, giving room for exigencies or emergencies of such nature. It helps in the sense that you acquaint yourself with the environment, and you also sit and relax while you're waiting for the officer. That helps you to be able to think, again, to calm down and think. As you know, you are appearing before a federal officer. There's always that tension. There's always that anxiety, because that's what you've been waiting for. You've been waiting for this interview for quite some time. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it takes, more than a year. So that's your day. You make sure that you come in on time. Another issue is appearance. Most people want to know what to wear when they appear for their interviews. That's a very valid and legitimate question. You can never minimize that. The reason is because appearances matter. You can tell a lot about somebody just from what they wear. So my answer to that question is always that you have to look neat and clean. You must not wear a suit. You must not wear a tie, but you should look neat. You want to show the officer that you are ready for your interview. I must caution you to stay away from any form of public display of affection. When you are entering your interview site, there are cameras everywhere. So, the officer who will be interviewing you, or maybe not even the one who will be interviewing you, will look upon what you are doing as if you are staging. It's more like a childish behavior and not what a reasonable adult couple would do. So be careful with the way you approach your mannerisms while you're waiting for your interview. Don't engage in any form of PDA. It's expected that you can touch. If you see that your spouse is nervous or is anxious for some reason, you can give them a pat to make sure that they calm down, but that is understandable. Over the years, I've also observed people who get into an interview room while sitting there with an officer and even their attorney, they start guessing. It's expected that when you are seated in front of a federal officer giving information about intimate marital issues, some degree of anxiety is expected. But what I caution you from is that do not engage in guesswork. The reason is because of this. There used to be a time when both parties, husband and wife, would sit with their lawyer in front of the immigration officer providing that information. But because of the suspicion, what they have now is the Stokes interview. And that interview is that which they have one party. The husband may come in and testify before the officer while the attorney is present, and then leaves, and then the wife comes in and testifies as well. What the officer is trying to see is, with the same questions, is trying to make sure that the answers are congruent, that there are no discrepancies. So what I caution you is that just because you have that small anxiety in you, or that you have anxiety, that you start guessing. Don't guess, because when you guess, the tendency is that when your significant other now comes in, they pose the same question, their answer will certainly be different from yours. Their answer will differ. So when that answer differs, the officer will consider that there's a discrepancy. You guys failed that question. You didn't answer. You didn't give the same answer for that particular question. So, don't guess. It's okay. You can tell an officer, oh, I have forgotten. Particularly if you guys were married, you've been married for quite a lengthy period of time, or if this question is that which you could not even know. If they pose a question that you could not even know, then you don't know. But if they pose a question that had been for something that occurred years and years ago that you cannot remember, then you don't remember. And also be mindful of the fact that too many I don't remember really shows that you don't know your spouse. So you have to, it's a fine line. You have to be very careful as to how many I don't remembers you have. Another situation that I've observed over the years is one that gives responses to an officer's answers, hoping to impress them so that they can be more lenient towards them throughout the interview. And I caution against that, because the officer knows why they're there. They know the information that they are trying to elicit from you. They have a job description. They are not there to create friends, nor are they there to create enemies. So you have to understand that and provide the answers to the questions that the officer poses to you. The officer's duty is to determine through your answers the validity of your marriage, to determine whether this marriage is a good faith marriage, whether it was entered into out of love and the desire to live as husband and wife, or they are entered into in order to stay in the United States, in order to circumvent the immigration laws. That's basically what the officer is trying to get at. So don't go in there and try to impress the officer hoping that he's going to be much more lenient to you. There are so many do's and don'ts, but I am hoping that what we have here can enlighten some of the people who have the opportunity to watch this video, who will be going for interview. I'm hoping that this enlightens you and you will go a long way towards helping you to be able to succeed at your immigration interview. As you all know, our objective here is just to give you some information. This is a springboard. We don't give legal advice. So if you need legal advice, please call our office and we'll be able to assist you. As you all know, knowledge is power. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can empower each other. Thank you.